This exact script that I'm about to share with you helped me close over $100 million in sales. But here's the thing, I didn't just learn one thing and then magically get rich, right? I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into coaching. I've tested dozens of methods. I've failed, I've learned, I've iterated. But when it comes down to it, this script is what I've seen work consistently across everything. Biz op, fitness, coaching, consulting, old leads, young leads, skeptical buyers, new buyers, cold leads, high trust buyers, low emotion buyers, high net worth individuals. It works everywhere. And I want to be clear, right? This is technically a framework, right? It's not a word for word script. And the difference is very, very important. A script is going to tell you exactly what to say, whereas a framework gives you the structure and the flow so that you can bring your own authenticity to it, because that is probably one of the more important key parts of this whole system and why it works, because you get to be authentic. And if you understand this framework, you'll understand why my closes feel so natural. They feel so authentic and they feel so obvious and almost inevitable. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Christian Jack. If you don't know my story, I went from making $1,200 a month as a teacher's aide to generating over $100 million in sales in less than 4 years. And now I coach salespeople all over the world on how to hit the income they want in sales, the best job in the world. Okay, so let's start with the introduction, right? Whenever you open a call, the first few seconds are so important because people's brains are judging you immediately. As soon as they see you, as soon as they hear your voice, as soon as they hear the first words that you're saying, as soon as they hear your tonality, everything matters. And it's critical in these first few seconds. Do not be fucking lazy with this, okay? Be very intentional. My favorite way to kind of encapsulate all of this is like an old grandpa who's going to see his grandkids, all right? Maybe you didn't have a grandpa like this in your life. I personally didn't, but I saw plenty of movies and I've met other people's grandpas, etc. So this is genuine care. This is genuine interest. It's a slight level of excitement. It is not overly excited. You're a grandpa at the end of the day, right? You don't get too excited. You're going to have a fucking heart attack. So just genuine energy, genuine slight levels of excitement, almost like you're seeing, again, like your grandkids that maybe you haven't seen in a while, right? So you're going to have some questions for them. You're going to be curious about what's going on. You're going to be somewhat tuned in, but not all the way tuned in. You're going to look at their area code whenever they call in or whenever they book the appointment, and you're going to ask them, it looks like you're calling in from XYZ location, like know a little bit about them, but not everything, okay? The next thing is do not fake rapport. Keep it natural, keep it quick, right? When I say, looks like you're calling in from this location, I go a couple layers deeper into this in order to set the frame that whatever you tell me on this call, I'm going to go a couple layers deeper. When they say they're from fucking Tampa, I'm like, nice, Tampa, how long you been there? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Whatever. And I don't go much deeper than that, okay? You don't want to be talking about the fucking weather or anything like that. After that, I do a quick tech check, okay? Can you see me? Can you hear me okay? Is everything working? This does a couple of things. Number one, obviously, just make sure that the tech works, but also it hits a deeper layer of something I'm not going to train you on today. It's a bit more advanced. It's called entrainment. It's just getting somebody to do whatever you tell them to do, right? If you've ever heard salespeople talk about, train the prospect to answer your questions, like question, answer. That's kind of entrainment. It's a weak ass, lazy ass version of it, but kind of, right? It's the reason that it works. After that, then I'm going to confirm the time commitment, okay? Are we still good? It looks like we're on the calendar for the next 45, 60 minutes, like any time pressures on your end. And specifically for me, I go for a no-based question on this because we're early in the call. And if you don't know about no-based questions, you should probably read Start With No by Jim Camp. Fantastic book. It'll teach you everything that you need to know. But basically, no-based questions allow somebody to feel more safe, more secure, because people like saying no, and it ensures their safety more than saying yes. Yes means that you're opening yourself up to potential new things that could be threats that could hurt you. If you say no, then it's just like, no, we're not doing that. We're keeping the status quo. So I'm going to frame a few of these opening questions as no-based questions in order to increase the level of security, the feeling of safety, and ultimately just build up that connection, if you will, with a prospect so that they feel safe. Because the worst thing is a sales call where the prospect doesn't feel safe or where they feel fearful. They feel like you're going to fucking sell them something, whatever. So we need to get rid of that early on as much as possible. Now, After that, we go into the current situation. So you got to have a banger opening question. You need to figure out whether you're going to do a frame, whether you're not going to do a frame. I kind of flip back and forth depending on the situation. If people are maybe more emotional sales, lower sophistication prospects, then set a frame. If they're higher sophistication prospects, then you want to set a frame, but it's slightly different. It's more about, I'm here to give you extra value, help you to see more opportunities that maybe you didn't have access to before, seeing if we can just provide any sort of insider information into your situation and potentially point you in a better direction if you need it, right? Things like that. It's not as much of like, on this call, we're going to go deep, get clarity on what you're looking to accomplish, and if there's alignment, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's all sorts of different ways that you can do this. Learn all of the ways that you like to frame calls and just do whatever you want, right? At the end of the day, this is the framework. So current situation is where we go after this. We want to ask about where they are at right now in their current situation. Okay, do not stay surface level, go deeper. Okay, the goal in my mind for discovery and the current situation is gauging the probability of success inside the program. All right, I'm not going to go super deep into this, but just think through with me for a fitness offer. Right? Maybe they're getting some fitness coaching. They've been overweight for a few years and they want to lose some weight. My goal in discovery is to figure out how probable it is that if this person joins the program, they're actually going to succeed. Okay, I'm not trying to get to certain details in discovery in order to like leverage pain points in order to make them buy or anything like that. Like, honestly, that sort of stuff is pretty basic. It's pretty easy to do, but it's sleazy as fuck. And you should be ashamed of yourself if you're doing that. So my goal in discovery, you can take my goal if you'd like for yourself, because it honestly works really, really well, is gauging the probability of success that the prospect is going to have if they actually sign up to be a paying client inside of the program. And you may be thinking, DWI versus done for you, DFY, like there's still some characteristics. If you need to know all of that, just join the dojo. I'm not going to go through it in this video because it would take fucking forever, right? Now, I say all of that to say, don't stay surface level, go deeper. And the kind of barometer in my mind is once we have reached the familial level, basically how their current situation is impacting their relationships with whoever they believe to be their family in their life. Sometimes it's their friends if they don't have any family life left over for whatever reason. But you just want to make sure that you are hitting that familial level, the relationships, the lifestyle, etc. Because that's what I've found to be really like the threshold of success, if you will. If you don't get that deep, there's still room to go deeper, and there's still something deeper driving this person more often than not. And if you do go that deep, then usually that's deep enough. You can still go deeper into limiting beliefs and internal roadblocks and all sorts of stuff. Like you can get really fucking deep on a sales call, but you don't necessarily have to, right? Again, that familial level is kind of the threshold that I keep a barometer of in my own head. Now, something else to note is that the difference, in my opinion, between good closers and bad closers will just collect facts, whereas good closers collect emotions, okay, feelings. Like bad closers will just find out facts. They will sell based on facts. Good closers will sell based off of feelings and emotions, and then great closers will sell on identity. Most closers stay at the discovery level of maybe they're on the call with the business owner, and the business owner's like, I'm at 40K a month in my business. And they just kind of leave it at that. Or maybe they're on a fitness sale and they get, I'm currently 200 pounds right now. And they'll just kind of leave it there instead of going a layer deeper, right? What's the significance of 200 pounds to you that made you decide to reach out now as opposed to when you were at 190 or 195 or whatever? So you have to go deeper into things, right? Now, at the end of the current situation, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I'm not going to go through it, but I do like to do a mini cost of an action after a deep current situation. And what I mean by that is when we go through their current situation, we have all of these facts and feelings and emotions kind of in front of us. And we haven't even gotten into like the deep feelings yet, but we've got a pretty good gist of where they're at currently. I want to just drop a couple little nuggets about like how much longer do you want to stay in that sort of situation? Or what do you think happens if you keep choosing the same path? Or what sort of internal roadblocks have actually stopped you from making a change up until this point? And what happens if you continue to allow that to get in the way, right? This is where the sense of urgency starts to be expanded a little bit, right? Naturally, when people aren't necessarily the most happy with their current situation, whether it be because it's painful or because they're comparing themselves to the ideal situation that they realize is possible if they had just gotten their shit together, they figured something out. That's where the original urgency is kind of created. But then this mini cost of inaction section is where you're kind of putting a little bit of a wedge into it, right? If you ever seen like under a door, right, the door stoppers that are a wedge, it at first just starts small, but then over time it gets bigger. And the more wedged in that it gets, right, the more that door is not fucking going anywhere, right? That's kind of the point of doing this, as well as just helping the person see that, start to open the door of potentially making a change and really being serious about making that change. Now, after this, we move on to the future vision. Okay, so this is kind of the part of the call where we start to visualize and feel what success would be like. My personal favorite way to do this, I've studied everybody's ways around the world with different sales trainers and stuff, and they're good. Like, I made a lot of money with their methods, but this is something that I haven't really seen anywhere else, is walk them through a day in the life after they've achieved their goal, right? Don't just get them to say, I'd like to make 10K a month so that I could leave my job and spend more time with my kids. Actually walk through with them. Okay, so if you left your job, what time would you actually get up? You're commuting to your job right now. Now you no longer have a commute. You can just work from home. What would you do with your morning? Instead of fighting through the traffic in the afternoon, getting home frustrated at 6 p.m., and then barely having enough energy to make dinner and, not really play with your kids and then send them to bed, like, how would it feel to actually come home? And like, what would you do instead? Because you've been home all day. You actually aren't even coming home. You just get to be home with your kids all day. What would you do? What would change in your life? Why would you change that? Why would you make that decision? What's the significance of doing that as opposed to the old version? Where's the old version causing you the most grief at the moment? Like, you just walk them through and you help them actually feel in the moment what it would feel like to achieve that level of success in their life that they're wanting, to achieve that change that they're wanting, right? It can be so simple as if you're selling investments and an investor is now able to cash flow a little bit more from his investments and actually take some out, as opposed to, he sees the opportunity cost of if he had just kept some in because they're not returning the amount that he would want to return. Like, how would it feel to actually look at your portfolio, know that it's growing at the rate that you would like it to, but then you can now take some out and live the life that you're building sooner rather than later, right? What does it look like when you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve? How does it feel? Who else benefits? How do they feel? How does that make you feel that they benefited that way and you're helping them feel better and live a better life? Like, this is what the future situation is all about. It's about a future visualization of what it would be like to live a day in the life of the 2.0 version of you. Simple. After the future visualization is the big consequence section, right? What happens if they don't change? There's a specific framework that I go through inside of the Sales Dojo for this. It's pretty simple, but it's very, very powerful. So I don't think that it's right to share it here. If you really want to learn it, it's literally in some of the first modules inside of the Sales Dojo, my training program. So if you'd like to learn this whole system at an actual in-depth level in a way where you can really use it and weaponize it on your calls, not to hurt other people, but in order to help other people, then hit the link down in the description below and you can get it. You can join for free for 7 days and you can literally get it in those first 7 days for free. So you may as well, right? Nothing to lose. Anyway, the big consequence section, there's a couple of things that I go through. Number one is a 3-pillar syntax that I go through. That includes a couple of really powerful things, but then right after that, we do SRDU, which is settle, responsibility, deserve, and urgency, okay? Settle is just, once we get through the actual consequence section and we actually look at what are the consequences if we don't make a change? What are the consequences if we don't actually overcome that internal roadblock that we talked about before? Maybe it's a fear of failure. What happens if you continue to be so afraid of failing that you never actually try anything? And another 5 years goes by where you're still struggling with A and B and C, and that's causing you to X and Y and Z. Like, where does that road lead? Where will you be in 5 years if you don't actually overcome that fear, right? Paint this reality. Like, again, make sure that they feel it. It's not about just going through the motions at this point in the call. It's about feeling it and experiencing it in the moment, you can go to some future time in your head and literally imagine yourself going through something, living a certain life, and you can experience the same feelings that you will then right now. That is the whole point of this like big emotional part of the sales call when it comes to the future pacing and the consequence and cost of an action sections. Like that's the whole point of this section, is to just get them to feel it, right? Now, after you do that 3-pillar, then you got settle, right? Are you willing to settle for that? Responsibility, whose responsibility is it, whether you settle for that or not? Deserve is now about like, do you deserve that life, or do you deserve something better? And some people will struggle with this. So you got to use part of why we get to the familial level also ties in here, right? If they feel that they don't deserve it because they're a piece of shit and they know it, or because they just lack self-love or self-worth or anything, then you have to find other people that they do love, that they do find worthy, right? Does your wife deserve the version of her husband who actually comes home exhausted and can't actually help her with the kids? That is a big deal in life. And if you don't have that conversation now, who knows if that person ever will have that conversation again. So anyway, deserve. And then last but not least is urgency. Like, are you ready to actually make the change today so that you stop doing X and Y and Z, stop feeling A and B and C, and stop those effects, stop the timeline that you're currently on of all these things that you mentioned before, and make a decision to change the trajectory in your life to what it is that you want, which is A and B and C. Yes, I'm ready. Great. Cool. After that, there's a few things that we should probably cover in terms of the pitch. I won't go too deep into it because I already made another video before about the pitch. So if you'd like that, just search through the channel and you'll be able to find it. But basically, before you pitch, you want to do a couple of things. Number one, it's like, I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here. Is there anything else that you feel like I should know that we haven't actually covered that's pertinent to the situation? And then also, once you get to the point where there's nothing else that they feel like they should add, that's important for you to know, then I've got a pretty good gist of where you're at with things. We got good clarity, and based on what you've said, A and B and C, you can repeat back all those things. We can definitely help, and if you'd like, I can walk you through what that would look like. And then they say, yes, I would like to. So basically, you're not just going into the pitch. You are making sure that there was nothing that you missed previously. So you're kind of going backwards in time there. But then before you move forwards, you are asking them if they would like you to pitch them, right? That way, you're not just going into pitch mode. You're not just pitching somebody who doesn't want to be pitched. You are actually getting their agreements, which anybody who's been in sales for a while knows how important this is. So you have to get the person's agreements before then moving forward and doing the pitching, right? And again, by the way, I've made a full breakdown of my pitching framework, so check that video out after this one. Now, this is the framework, okay? But knowing the framework alone won't make you an incredible salesperson. What actually matters is training it, drilling it, practicing it, and customizing it to your specific offer, your ideal customer profiles, your ICP, your avatars, your unique sales process. And that's ultimately why I created the Sales Dojo, right? It's not just a training program. It's an actual training ground. It's a dojo where inside you'll learn how to apply this framework. You get to role play it, you get to drill it, you get to sharpen it until it becomes second nature. And you actually get feedback on how you can apply it to your specific offer with your specific avatars, with the typical objections that you get and the typical questions you get from your prospects. And the best part is that you can join for free with a 7-day free trial there at the link in the description below. So if you are serious about selling at the highest level, click the link, join the Sales Dojo, and I will see you inside.